Well, this report today will guide us a little bit into the midterms that they're rolling out. We'll take a look into some darker madness from leftist liberal women going to a level of depravity that was never expected. Celebrating the mother who planned and took her children's lives. You won't believe it. This, along with the Islam takeover and a nice dive into, again, Fauci and what's being done about that. This will all be not be doom and gloom, not the whole thing. As we know, we have a love for our families and each other, and we'll show some good clips at the very end of this. We're at 515,000 followers on Rumble. Thank you for hitting that follow button and like. We're growing, and we certainly appreciate that. And also, we're number 3 again on the top of the leaderboard with our video yesterday. We sincerely appreciate. Here's a new video for you.
Our end of summer sale is here, and some of our favorite tees are marked down to over 40% off. You can shop our limited edition Jesus Saves, Make Heaven Crowded, Truth, Hope, Faith, Freedom tees, and sweatshirts, and more on sale today before they're gone for good. Shop at shop.andweknow.com.
Shop at shop.andweknow.com. If you go to our website, andweknow.com, you'll see the shop button at the very top. Also, if you click Get Involved, you'll see the Patriot Showcase. You can submit a photo. We're looking for more pictures of folks wearing our gear so we can play those on videos in the future. So we appreciate that. Now, here's a reminder for many that, we need these every now and then. I need them. Bad Hombre put this out. The SPLC, Southern Poverty Law Center, they were indicted. Heidi Byrick, indicted. Gavin Newscomb and wife under investigation. Eric Swalwell's homes raided and electronics seized at the airport. John Bolton, remember that? He pled guilty. All these great things playing out, huh? James Comey indicted. Act Blue under investigation. 4 prosecutors who targeted pro-life activists fired. 3,400 America-hating activist prosecutors fired or resigned. And 455 Medicare and Medicaid fraudsters charged, the most in history. Thank you, Attorney General Blanche. A lot of that playing out for us to see. I'm going to get into a clip here from J.D. Vance.
John Thune, he's not getting it done over there, respectfully, sir. And you're president of the Senate. You obviously, there is some procedural things under Article 1, but, overruling the parliamentarian, pushing this vote forward. Is there anything you can do to get this done before the midterms?
Yeah, so we've actually looked into this, and you're right. As the president of the Senate under the U.S. Constitution, there are things that we can do. We can take over the Senate chair. I can occupy the chair. We can overrule the parliamentarian. Those things are very possible. But the fundamental issue with that is not the 60-vote threshold, it's the 50-vote threshold. So if, for example, I took over the Senate chair and I overruled the parliamentarian, we would need to sustain 50 senators plus me. Obviously, I would vote the right way. We need to sustain 50 senators to support that decision. Now, obviously, most Republicans would support it, but could we get 50? That's the big question. That's something that obviously the president and I and others in the White House have been working on trying to have this conversation. The fundamental problem, there's a good news, bad news situation here, which is we have a way better United States Senate today, a way better Senate GOP today than we had 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But you still have some senators who are so committed to these ridiculous parliamentary rules, even though they know the Democrats aren't. And this is what I find so preposterous about this is it's basically you have a few GOP senators who are unilaterally disarming, even though they know that Senate Democrats, whenever the Senate Democrats next take the majority, hopefully 30, 40, 50 years from now, hopefully never, but if they do it 2 years from now or 4 years from now, the Senate Democrats are going to blow up the filibuster. And this is why the president says we have got to just get rid of the filibuster. Then you don't have to worry about the parliamentarian. The problem is not the majority of GOP senators. It's that you've got a few holdouts who just don't want to do that because they're so committed to these archaic rules.
The commitment to archaic rules. Like that, like Murkowski. Lisa Murkowski out of Alaska. Well, it just turns out, thanks to O'Keefe Media, doing a good job, he actually offered Senator Lisa Murkowski's brother ballot at Alaskan polling location with no ID required. I'm going to play a few minutes of this. You'll be entertained.
This is James O'Keefe in Anchorage, Alaska. I'm about to get offered Senator Lisa Murkowski's brother's ballot.
The last name is Murkowski. I think I left my wallet in the vehicle. Would it be possible to vote without it today?
Absolutely possible.
Oh, good.
I said, I can vote. Brian Murkowski can vote. She's like, yes, you can vote.
You can vote if you'd like to. Do you want to do a question ballot?
I mean, all I got to do is do the question ballot, then I can vote.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Brian Murkowski, Senator Murkowski's brother, doesn't even live in Alaska, but his name is still on the voter rolls.
Do you know how to spell Brian?
Brian.
Yeah,
That's the address.
In the correct place.
Oh, perfect.
To vote. You have a mugshot.
Oh, I think I left that at home. Blood?
Well, DNA.
I got blood. Yeah.
You got blood. You want to leave your blood?
You're Caroline. Carolyn. Carolyn's a funny one, by the way. Thank you for helping me.
And you know what? We appreciate it too because, we're volunteers and we're trying to figure this out.
And we're all trying to figure things out in life, right?
Yeah.
Brian Murkowski always does the right thing.
So let's get round to what the one I need is tied up right now. So let's just wait a while. The one I need is tied up right.
James O'Keefe here in Girdwood, Alaska on Election Day, primary day here, where Senator Lisa Murkowski lives. Senator Lisa Murkowski is a holdout on the SAVE Act. She has reasons for opposing the SAVE Act, including that it could disenfranchise or alienate voters in rural places and islands off the coast of Alaska.
It's a logistical challenge. Is it insurmountable? Maybe not. Is it going to be really hard to do in certain places? I think that's fair to say.
So we went to those places. More on that soon. We came out to Alaska to prove how easy it is to get offered the Murkowski's ballot. Murkowski's brother lives over there in Anchorage. We're going to go there and see if I can get offered his ballot with no identification, just by signing a piece of paper. We also saw if we could get offered Karina Waller's ballot. That's Senator Lisa Murkowski's own state director, which she just hired.
So, we're here in Anchorage, Alaska on Election Day. Team is going into Rabbit Creek Elementary School. We're going in to see if we can get offered the ballot.
And of course, you saw in the intro how that all played out. They do a great job of getting that information out to you guys. Dressed in hijabs, playing the brother of Murkowski, and so much more. Man, great job there. So, other things out there, illegals, they get by with the worst of things like voting and so much more that Democrats need. But of course, they are under protection no matter what. And you won't believe this report.
That statistic that you had sent from DHS, half of all homicide suspects in Fairfax County this year are illegal immigrants. Half. Think about that, Harris. So why are Democrats putting their citizens in harm's way? Because when you look at states like Virginia, you look at localities like Fairfax County, they were essentially exercising sanctuary state and city and or locality policies in those areas. So why are they shielding these illegal aliens from deportation? Or then you look at this coordinated effort on the left right now to go after ICE agents, the very people who would remove dangerous criminals from the United States, from the interior, or this desire to abolish ICE. And I honestly think, as crazy as this sounds, obviously the best thing you can do is what President Trump has done to secure the border. But then the two other best things I think you could do, the Save America Act and also excluding illegal aliens from the census, because the reason why I believe that we had open borders under the Biden administration, it's for political purposes. It's to change the balance of power in the United States. So if you...
Yeah. Legal migrants. And then, of course, Fairfax County, 50%. Homicides. Just that place alone, folks, in our United States of America. Illegals. They cross the border. They don't think like us. They don't assimilate. And they cause all kinds of problems. And yet, some people say, I know some good ones out there. They live down the street. They're so nice. They bring things to me. I love on them. But yeah, did they come in legally or illegally? Are they aware that they can get some money and actually take a free flight home and apply to come back? They realize that that's available? I don't know. Well, that's playing out, of course. The Democrats are, Chuck Schumer, doubling down on his support for Abdul El Sayed. The rigging of the elections, more information on that from Venezuela and more in a second. Americans love sushi. Over the last 2 decades, raw fish consumption has exploded. Sushi bars are everywhere. Grocery stores and gas stations sell it, and millions of people now eat raw fish weekly. But there's a hidden risk most people never think about: parasites. Salmon is one of the most popular fish worldwide, but it naturally contains more than 70 parasites. Most are tiny and nearly impossible to see, and they are making their way into the human body. Once inside, parasites can hide for years while frequently laying eggs before any symptoms appear. This is why many physicians are raising awareness about parasite exposure. Dr. Peter McCullough recommends doing a parasite cleanse at least once a year as a preventative measure. The wellness company offers a hard-to-access RX parasite cleanse, USA compounded ivermectin and mebendazole. The ivermectin paralyzes the parasite's nervous system, while mebendazole starves them. Each capsule contains 25 milligrams of ivermectin and 20 milligrams of mebendazole. A lab tested for quality. You can now get a more budget-friendly 45 capsule option that costs $250 less, giving you 2 21-day parasite cleanse cycles. Same formula as the original, just a smaller quantity. Head to twc.health/LT and use code LT to save $35 off, plus free shipping, USA residents only.
Look, the bottom line is we're going to win Michigan. Let me tell you why we're going to win Michigan. First, El Sayed has brought in new energy and new talent into the Democratic Party, but also in Michigan itself. But second, Michigan, Trump has so bungled the Michigan economy. You know, the numbers for Trump on how well he's doing in keeping costs down in the economy is in the low 30s. In the country, it's in the high 20s in Michigan. Why? He created a trade war with Canada. Anyone who's halfway decent as president knows that the Michigan economy and the Canadian economy are totally intertwined. And he's blown it. We're going to win Michigan.
These guys have lost their mind. I've got an idea. And as Chuck, you know, he's the one that looked at his chair. You guys remember when he walked into the halls there and he looked at the place that he's supposed to sit and he stared at it and says, hey, basically talking to nobody, but we all felt it was a demon. A demon that he was talking to. Well, I probably had consultations with him. He says, I got an idea. Let's claim that Canada's part of Michigan's, you know, they're tied together and they're losing their money because they're not working together because President Trump's terrible. Because of that, we need to put a Muslim freak in there named Sayed who believes in socialism and so much more, like the Quran and jihadism. Yeah. Here's Michigan Democrat State Rep Karen Whitsett supporting Mike Rogers there in Michigan.
I do not think people really realize what is on the line. You will lose your health insurance if the other candidate gets in office. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That is what Medicare for All means. So if you enjoy going to ER now and sitting for 6 hours, get ready to enjoy that a whole lot longer because you may be sitting there for 6 weeks. That means you will be in a clinic, in a hospital, wherever they say that you go. Once again, you say you don't want government in your business. Well, the government will be controlling your health care. They will control your doctors. They will control your medication. They will control your visits. They will control everything. So if for no other reason, common sense prevails that Mike Rogers is the candidate for you.
I get it. I get the medical side of it, and I understand what she's trying to say. But I tell you what, the opposite side, I mean, if you want jihad, if you want folks screaming in the streets, saying the name of whatever they want to say, do you want the music 5 times a day from their chanting and taking the bells down and basically overwhelming the entire community, put Saeed in. John Solomon revealed that Venezuela was able to successfully breach an election counting machine.
In September of 2020, about 9 months after the assessment was made that there are machine vulnerabilities, CIA observed Venezuela conducting an experiment where they were able to successfully breach an election counting machine and change the votes. And by the way, change the vote counts without it being detectable in a post-audit or in a post-image review. How did they do that? They had an election machine with ballots and counts on it. As it was working its way up to the vote counting area, a mirror server was created. Somebody sucked the real votes off, placed fake votes in, and then sent them up so that when the audit occurred, the fake votes would be the only ballots you could see. You couldn't see the original ballots as they were casted by that. Now, that was in a controlled environment in Venezuela. It didn't happen during a real election. It happened during election testing. But its significance to the intelligence community was, hey, this isn't hypothetical anymore. Someone figured out a way to do this. And the CIA was extremely concerned about it. But guess what? Our president, our Congress, and the American people didn't get told. And for 6 more years, we went through thinking our machines weren't hackable when they were.
Yep. Well, somebody out there by the name of Kamala in 2018 said this about the machines.
I actually held a demonstration for my colleagues here at the Capitol where we brought in folks who, before our eyes, hacked election machines. Those that are being used in many states, but are not state of the art from our perspective. We're very concerned because there's only 3 companies. You could easily hack into them. It makes
Now it's Klobuchar.
it seem like all these states are
Minnesota
doing different things, but in fact, 3 companies are controlling them.
43% of American voters use voting machines that researchers have found have serious security flaws, including backdoors.
Senator Ron Wyden, Democrat.
These companies are accountable to no one. They won't answer basic questions about their cybersecurity practices, and the biggest companies won't answer any questions at all.
2018. All about the machines getting rigged and stuff because they were upset, right? President Trump got in. They were trying to figure out how to tell everybody that, they rigged the machines and it was done by Russia, blah, blah. Then in 2020, when the election was won, 81 million votes, what did they say? There was nothing going on. These elections are safe. It's all wonderful. We know. We've heard it so many times. So hopefully a lot of those folks will be arrested someday, or if they already have, and someday they'll let us know. But anyway, here's an ISIS plot. See, they get their elections. They get their illegals to come in. And then as they open the borders, these folks that support terrorism and more, and others, they get brainwashed by all of it. They start thinking they can just blow things up.
I'm incredibly proud to work with the men and women of the FBI and our law enforcement partners who identified, investigated, and ultimately stopped this defendant before she could act on her plot to bring terror to the Capital Region and the United States. I am grateful for their dedication, and the people of the Capital Region and across the nation share in that gratitude. Before I turn it over to Special Agent in Charge FBI Craig Tremaroli, who will discuss the investigation in further detail, I want the American people to know this. Today's announcement will have a chilling effect on anyone in this country who is being radicalized or considering acts of violence, and on our enemies whose governments support death to America. We are vigilant, we are prepared, and just as we stop this defendant, we will continue to disrupt plots and protect the American people. My office looks forward to aggressively prosecuting this case and delivering justice for the American people. This time, I'd like to turn it over to Special Agent in Charge, FBI, Craig Tremaroli.
Thank you to our First Assistant United States Attorney, John Sarcone, and thank you all for being here today for this very significant announcement. I want to sincerely thank our partners from Secret Service, Albany Police Department, New York State Police, the Albany County Sheriff's Office, and HSI. As the First Assistant United States Attorney said, Jessica Bowie was arrested by FBI Albany's Joint Terrorism Task Force, has been charged by the Northern District of New York with attempting to provide material support or resources to a designated foreign terrorist organization. In this instance, that foreign terrorist organization is ISIS, perhaps one of the most vicious organizations that is hell-bent on murdering Americans, destroying our democracy, and disrupting our very own way of life.
All right, if you look at your screen, I'm going to show you this. Jessica Bowie and Wokeness showed this. She's 35 years old, just arrested for a plot to bomb that New York Capitol. And she was wearing a burqa. And Wokeness said, I can see why she's wearing a burqa. Some different video clips you can see as she was plotting and working behind the scenes with the phone, wearing a burqa and more, hoping that, she could pull this thing off. Plenty of images and things out there. ISIS-linked New Yorker caught plotting to blow up the state capitol, allegedly wanted to attack the White House, Times Square. So a lot of places, a lot of things where these folks with mental illness end up, they're deranged and more. You got that, and then, of course, you've got entire countries that we have to talk about. Here's Secretary Rubio.
I think for those who have followed the issue of Cuba, this is not unfamiliar to us, but to the average American, you see Cuba, small country, 90 miles off our shores, 9.5 million people population. What people forget that when it comes to things like espionage and influence operations, they actually are an influence and espionage superpower. If you look at the history of espionage in the United States, Cuba is the only country that consistently has implanted and embedded spies in our system without even paying them. We had an ambassador, a U.S. ambassador, who ended up being a Cuban spy and was recently convicted. We've had them penetrate the highest levels of the Defense Intelligence Agency. Ana Belén Montes was one of the single biggest intelligence failures on the part of the United States and one of the biggest penetrations we've ever had in our system. So, and then on the influence front, if you look all throughout Latin America, every communist left-wing insurgency that's destabilized governments across the region, every single one of them over the last 40, 50 years has found its support, its help, in many cases its birth from a Cuban influence operation. So it was an important report just to highlight the role they play in our country, a very negative role.
The report also links Cuban influence to the rise of Antifa, the riots that we saw in 2020, as well as the surge of radical activism.
Yep, so Cuba's been on the docket also, talking about that. And this was put out by the White House. Interesting picture I showed you on the thumbnail. If you looked at this, you've got President Trump in red. Kind of has that Red October kind of look. And I'll show you a little bit later where there's some links there. But they said the most crushing economic operation ever taken against any country. President Donald J. Trump, and that's economic warfare against Iran. Now, when we see these, a lot of folks like to come up with comms on it and wonder how it's all connected. The best one that I could find connecting all of this with that post from the White House would be this one. Let me bring this over to the left, and you'll see Tron. Tron posted the Q post 3837. Look how this connects. Crimes against humanity. When you cannot destroy, defeat the United States of America by attacking head-on, you can change tactics. You change tactics and deploy a kill from within internal operation. So that would be financial economy, military police, division of citizenry, border collapse, install like-minded leaders in key positions of U.S. government. How many people removed from the FBI had Iranian family backgrounds? The silent war continues. Amazing, huh? It's all connected. You got all of this. You've got Iran, all in that drop, financial and more. And man, it's just amazing how Anons out there come up with these connections. So speaking of Anons and connections, saw this from Brian Cates. And I'm going to read it to you. It's very good. You are Team Patriot. You have been locked in a silent war with a team traitor, a literal shadow government for decades. Forced to work side by side, elbow to elbow within the same executive branch agencies, within the same intelligence community, within the same law enforcement agencies, within the same military. Moves, counter moves, victories, defeats, advancements, retreats. A long, long silent war until the day comes where you are able to take enough control from the shadow government and can begin the prosecution phase of the silent war march to victory. What are you limited to doing? You can't prosecute yet. You don't have enough control of the IC, the military, the executive branch agencies, especially the law enforcement ones. What are you limited to doing? You are limited to collecting evidence in the hopes that one day you will take enough control from Team Traitor to both remove them from control, remove them from the government, and then begin prosecuting them. Think logically. It really does help. You can not begin with the prosecution phase, then seek to remove Team Shadow Government Traitor from power. You cannot do this backwards. You cannot launch the prosecution phase prematurely while Team Traitor is still equal to you in power in the government. You can't do that. Until you have gained enough power to wrest control away from Team Traitor, you are limited to collecting evidence about their crimes. It's okay. You don't have to like it, but by God, you had better at least make an attempt to understand it. You must position yourself to gain enough control to finally begin removing Team Traitor from their deeply entrenched positions inside of the U.S. federal government. It's not an easy task. These people only yield power with the greatest difficulty. You must accumulate enough power to remove their fingers from the levers of control. Until you have more practical and functional control than they do, you are limited to evidence collection against them. They know this. They, the enemy, know. Team Patriot has been spying on them, collecting evidence against them, cataloging their crimes. It was never supposed to matter because the shadow government of Team Traitor was never supposed to lose control. To them, Team Patriot has always been a joke. Ineffective opposition. That was before Trump. The number one rule of survival for Team Traitor has always been this: you cannot lose functional control of the executive branch and the military to Team Patriot. That cannot ever happen. That must not ever happen because Team Traitor uses its functional control to constantly attack, degrade, and remove Team Patriot out of the government. Team Traitor knows that if Team Patriot ever succeeded in taking control away from them, Team Patriot will instantly begin exposing, degrading, and removing members of Team Traitor from the U.S. government. While Team Traitor was in full command and control, they could not be exposed via declassification because they controlled the IC, the information campaign, I believe that's what the IC is, and the classification system. Team Traitor knew that if they ever lost control after Team Patriot was done removing enough shadow government personnel from the executive branch, the military to declassifications fully exposing them would start. Loss of functional control, embedded personnel, classification control, exposure of massive crimes against humanity, and prosecution. Don't argue with this. The template is very logical and follows a natural progression. Right now, Team Shadow Government Traitor is terrified. They have suffered loss of functional control. They have suffered loss of most of their embedded personnel. They have suffered loss of control of the classification system. They can't prevent the declassification exposure from the highest levels of patrons and control government. That is the process of revealing their crimes against both their own country and the world. They can see the launch of the prosecution phase coming, and they are powerless to stop it. They know all the evidence collected patiently by Team Patriot, some of it long ago, some of it recently, is waiting to be used against them in military court. She was never supposed to lose. Things were never supposed to reach this stage, and yet here we stand. The declassifications will continue until the shadow government of Team Traitor and its crimes against America and the world stand utterly and completely exposed by this government of Team Patriots. Then the arrests will happen and the trials will begin. You don't have to like the strategy or approve of it, but you will watch it continue to unfold. Nothing can stop what's coming. Where we go one, we go all. The silent war prepares to go loud. We got this, more information on Fauci and how that's playing out with the revealings that have been playing out before all of our eyes with, especially with RFK Jr., how he's handling this. More on the Muslims and what they're doing around the world, just to keep us updated on that, not to scare us. And of course, I told you we're going to get into Clancy, the deranged people that support her, in a moment. Folks, I'm feeling so much better now that I've visited Chad and Katie Brewer, and they gave me their Fortify 365 NAD+, a coenzyme found in every cell of your body. I'm telling you, sharper, stronger, and more energized. It fuels my brain function. I can tell. It boosts the energy, supports metabolism, helps my cells repair and regenerate. And I was just overwhelmed when I took this stuff. As we age and we face stress and illness, or addiction, NAD drops those levels, leaving us tired and foggy. Well, glutathione is the body's master antioxidant, so it's combined NAD plus glutathione. It detoxifies the liver and as a result supports the immune system and reduces inflammation and oxidative stress. So together, NAD plus and glutathione are powerful anti-aging combo. You can actually get this in the description box below. Click on the link in the description box, fortify365.com/AUK. So I wanted to show you Dan Scavino's post. We like when Dan posts stuff. Very interesting one. He uses the word anonymous quite a bit. An anonymous source insists that what they heard from two other anonymous sources is 100% factually true. Because one anonymous source in the West Wing was told the exact same thing by two more anonymous sources at Cafe Milano who also heard it. So yes, we are writing this story full of lies and we're sticking to it. We're going with the piece that rests on a grand total of 6 anonymous sources while ignoring the 8 cabinet members who gave us statements on the record. I can't imagine why the American people keep calling us fake news. He posted this at 22:39. 22:39 on the cue board. Those in attendance, be vigilant tonight. See something, say something. Be vigilant. Fake news attempting to rebrand harmful testimony and instead provide misleading info to their readers. He always connects it perfectly with those timestamps, and we're absolutely loving. Also connecting great things would be observing consciousness. The COVID cascade is opening. How are we going to go about this? With Fauci information. Let's make sure it stays fresh in our mind.
If you have heard of Event 201. Event 201 is a simulation that they did right before COVID hit, and it was a drill for how to handle pandemics. But it didn't do the things you would think they would do, like how do we fix the VAERS system to make sure that we get good data? What they talked about was how to turn America into a totalitarian state. How to impose censorship. In my book on Fauci, I've been able to find 22 of those simulations. And they have been practicing this for year and year. It's all sponsored by the CIA, as I demonstrate. Fauci and Bill Gates play key roles in them. Bill Gates called Fauci in 2000 to his home in Seattle, a $147 million home, 40 acres on Lake Washington. He sat Fauci down in his library and he said, I want to propose to you a partnership. You and I work together to vaccinate the world. And the story in my book tells exactly how they went through that. And the story of these simulations is critically important because it was the way that they prepared. They didn't just have a few people involved. They had hundreds of thousands. Cops these were all top secret. Police officers in every community in this country, healthcare workers, first responders, were all drilled in this. How to censor, how to silence, how to impose tracking and tracing, how to do control. So they all went through these drills again and again, and it was a way of drilling and practicing a coup d'etat against American democracy. All of the techniques they use, I've spent a lot of time studying the CIA because my family was in a 60-year fight with them, and I wrote a book about that battle called American Values. But I've read all of their manuals, and they have techniques for going into indigenous countries and causing chaos, shattering the societies, destroying the economy, creating social distance between people so that there's no unit cohesion. And then when everybody is demoralized and destroyed, coming in with a centralized control and imposing as they did with all of us. They locked down America and hostage taking.
Nope, don't forget this. RFK Jr. has been on this one for a while, telling us what's going on. Believe me, he's working hard. We feel it. And those folks are getting caught. The Fauci folks. Observing consciousness, always great job. With the COVID cascade hitting the news this hard, Morenz pleading guilty, Fauci's phone records being mapped, hidden communications surfacing, Freedom of Information activation exposed, and the network beginning to widen beyond the same similar, familiar names. This is a good time to step back and revisit the history beneath it all. Hold on to your seats, because COVID did not suddenly appear as a finished control system in 2020. Before the lockdowns, mandates, vaccines, and censorship machine fully activated, an extraordinary convergence was already unfolding in plain sight. Remember August 30th, 2019, the Gates Foundation, Gates, agreed to invest $55 million into BioNTech, acquiring just over 3 million shares and positioning itself inside a next-generation vaccine and immunotherapy platform capable of rapidly developing mRNA-based products. The stated targets were HIV and tuberculosis, not COVID. But roughly 7 weeks later, the same foundation joined Johns Hopkins and the World Economic Forum at the Pierre Hotel in New York for Event 201. That was the one that RFK Jr. is talking about. A high-level exercise simulating the worldwide spread of a novel coronavirus. They didn't gather only doctors and epidemiologists. They brought together the operating layers of the entire system. The United States CDC, China CDC, former CIA leadership, pharmaceuticals, banking, aviation, logistics around the earth, international governance, public relations, and mass media. Then rehearsed how a coronavirus crisis would move through society, overwhelming health systems, breaking supply chains, disrupting travel, crashing markets, creating shortages, triggering public unrest, and igniting an information war between official authorities and a population losing trust. They worked through through how governments would use corporate infrastructure during the emergency. How the big pharma development and manufacturing would accelerate. How these scarce medical products would be distributed. How trade and transportation would be managed. How the financial shock would be absorbed. How governments, media, and private technology companies would coordinate against what they classified as misinformation and disinformation. This was never simply a disease exercise. It was a rehearsal of the public-private command architecture that would manage the world once a pandemic was declared. Now shift from New York to Wuhan that exact same day. On October 18th, 2019, while Event 201 opened in New York, the 7th World Military Games officially opened in Wuhan, bringing thousands of military athletes and personnel from more than 100 nations into the city that would soon become the recognized center of the outbreak. New York was rehearsing a big earthly coronavirus response, while Wuhan was receiving military delegations from across the planet. Both events began on the same day. And while that alone does not prove they were operationally connected, the overlap becomes much harder to dismiss once the later illness reports are placed on the timeline. So a Pentagon report completed in December 2022 found that 7 American service members who attended the Wuhan Games developed COVID-like symptoms sometime between October 18th, 2019 and January 21st, 2020. The report does not prove they were infected with COVID because testing was unavailable and other respiratory illnesses were possible. But that's where the real failure begins. They were never retrospectively tested because of their participation in the games. The Pentagon opened no investigation into a possible connection between the gathering and the outbreak. Allied militaries were not systematically questioned, and no serious multinational effort reconstructed where the delegation stayed, when their symptoms began, who they contacted, where they traveled afterward, or whether stored samples existed that could help establish the early timeline. Thousands of military personnel from more than 100 countries, all in Wuhan. During the window when SARS-CoV-2 began circulating, athletes from several nations later described unusual illnesses. 7 Americans reported compatible symptoms, yet one of the most obvious early transmission leads on the planet was never fully investigated. Then the congressionally mandated Pentagon report sat outside public view for years. See it? They created patient zero. Now follow the sequence. The Gates Foundation moves $55 million into BioNTech's vaccine platform in September 2019. Event 201 rehearses a coronavirus pandemic in New York. On October 18th, the World Military Games open in Wuhan the same day. Military participants began reporting COVID-like illnesses during the months that followed. The world is officially told about unexplained pneumonia cluster in Wuhan on December 31st. Then the architecture rehearsed at Event 201 begins. Governments declare emergency powers as public money floods pharmaceutical development. Regulators accelerate approval pathways while corporations receive enormous advance purchase agreements. Logistics networks distribute the products as financial systems absorb the shock. International institutions coordinate policy while media and technology platforms control the information environment. And BioNTech, backed by the Gates Foundation weeks before Event 201, becomes Pfizer's partner in producing one of the dominant COVID vaccines used throughout the world. This absolutely destroys the claim that there's nothing here worth investigating because Event 201 maps the command layer, BioNTech maps the capital and technology layer, the Wuhan military games open a possible early international exposure layer, the pandemic response reveals the implementation layer, and now the COVID cascade may finally be exposing the communications layer running beneath them all. Who knew what and when? What was moving through public health intelligence and research networks before the public was told? What did the China CDC director George Gao know when he participated in Event 201? Why were the military games participants never fully investigated? Why were allied delegations never systematically questioned? Why were records hidden, deleted, moved into private channels, or shielded from FOIA? Why did the institutions that rehearsed the crisis remain unprepared wherever preparation would have protected the public, yet move with extraordinary speed wherever emergency authority, pharmaceutical financing, mass distribution, and information control were concerned? That is why this history is important now. The COVID cascade did not begin with Morins. Morins may be the point where the buried communications finally become visible. Remember, guys, Morins, M-O-R-E-N-S. Remember that guy? Oh, yeah, he's in trouble. Follow them backward and the timeline opens. Follow them outward and the network expands. It's important to watch both of these videos, the ones that I just played for you, one of them. And you could see how RFK Jr. was already in the know.
Stockholm Syndrome, where the captive becomes grateful to their captor and identifies with them and understands, comes to this belief that the only way that they can save their lives is through absolute obsequious obedience to their captors. And all of these drills were intended to impose and to induce that condition in the entire public. And I'll tell you one other thing. The CIA did a series of mind control experiments back in the 60s and 70s called MK Ultra and Project Artichoke. And one of the famous experiments was called the Milgram experiment. And the Milgram experiment, and you guys look it up, Milgram experiment. What they did is they brought volunteers from every walk of life, college professors, construction workers, everybody. They put them in a room with a doctor in a lab coat, a figure of authority. And he would tell them, turn up the electricity and shock the person who's in the next room. That person was an actor. And they would tell him, turn it up higher, turn it up higher. It went into the death zone. 67% of the people put it into the death zone, even though many of them weren't crying at the time. They were begging the doctor not to make them do it. And what they found was that using authority, particularly doctors in white lab coats, 67% of the public will violate their own conscience and do what they're told. All of this was orchestrated. They put doctors in charge of America, speaking of authority, never showing us any science, but ordering us what to do. And as you read my book, you're going to see all of the direct CIA involvement. And I name the person, I name the officers. year after year that were directly involved, partnered with Bill Gates, partnered with Tony Fauci, creating these scenarios in anticipation.
You know, it's very interesting. I actually knew some folks who supported Fauci, that I grew up with. And somehow they had a book from RFK Jr. that he wrote about Fauci somehow showed up at their door. I don't know. It was kind of a strange way of making it happen, but I always wondered if they read those books. All right. Peter Bleskley explodes in rage over a migrant given the right to remain in the UK after raping a sleeping woman.
Then you have some stupid tribunal judge that says, no, it's absolutely fine. Your human rights outweigh the safety of the people of the UK. That's my words, not the judges. But that is what they're saying, basically. Your individual human rights of a rapist is more important than the safety of our loved ones, our women, our children. No, his is more important than ours.
You can't be surprised. I'll take you back to Epping last year, and I will forever go on about the pink ladies in this story because a migrant hotel, the Bell Hotel, right next to a secondary school, 2 girls have been sexually assaulted.
Yep.
The mothers who cared about their kids took to the streets and said, this is outrageous, and I salute, and I will always salute Epping local council. They went to the High Court, got an injunction to close the hotel, and I thought, you know what, I think he's even I don't know who was the council, but fantastic. Good job, right?
So they're admitting this on their channel there. And I often think when they're talking, well, it's too bad that they gave up their guns, a long time ago, because they really don't have a sense of protection that they would have had in different ways if they had not done that. So now, if you guys are looking at your screen, they've been handing out documents to asylum seekers. Yeah, if you're looking at your screen, they're being told men and women are equal in the UK amid mounting fears over integration and cultural values. The Home Office they've issued new guidelines to arrivals telling them this means women can work, study, travel, and make their own choices. See, they have to teach them. They also detail what rape is under UK law in a new booklet. Consent is needed in every situation. This means even if you are married or in a relationship with someone, they must consent to sex every time. If you have sex with someone without their consent, this is called rape. Rape is a serious crime in the UK. You could go to prison, lose your support and accommodation, and it will affect your asylum claim. So they're handing out pamphlets, folks, if you're looking at your screen, to teach them what crime is, because they don't know. Kemi Badenoch was talking about this way back when.
Which cultures, in your view, are less valid than others?
Oh, lots. Cultures that believe in child marriage, for instance, or that women don't have equal rights. I actually think it's extraordinary that people think that's an unusual or controversial thing to say. Of course, not all cultures are equally valid. I don't believe in cultural relativism. I believe in Western values, the principles which have made this country great. And I think that we need to make sure that we continue to abide by those principles.
Kemi Badenoch. Anyone needing a leaflet, she said, does not belong in Britain. I've been warning for a long time that not all cultures are equal. Britain can be proudly multi-ethnic, but we should not be multicultural. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And then you get this Muslim resident in Canada tells a reporter on camera.
Muslims living in Britain and Muslims living in Canada, Muslims living in Australia, Muslims living in the Muslim lands. Where is your vision for the next 50 years? We can have a global vision and we can have a local vision. I believe we should have at least 3 prime ministers in the next 50 years, right? In Britain and in Canada. This is the solution. This is going towards a positive revival of the Muslim Ummah.
And he actually said they're making babies, you're not, and in 40 years we will impose Sharia. Dan Burmawi showed us this clip. If you're listening, try to guess where this is coming from. So I don't want to play the whole thing because sometimes I wonder when you play these if demons hear it and if it invites demonic spirits into the homes of the people listening. I think that's why the demons love this and they hate the ringing of the bells. So I don't want to play the whole thing. But you guys get the drift, right? You heard it. Muslim prayer. She happens to be reading from the Quran at the Harvard graduation. It's not diversity, it's stupidity, it's naivety. This book literally calls for war on everyone who rejects the rule of Allah, and that means the United States. This book is behind more than 60,000 Islamic war terror attacks in the last few decades alone, ignoring these facts, pretending because you happen to know some nice Muslims that the Quran is just another religious book is what will end Western civilization. Here's Dearborn, Michigan. This young lady did a good job.
Dearborn, the most Islamic city in America.
I don't want to play that too loud. Okay, I'll let her whisper.
Death to America, death to the Christians and the Jews. Destroy them, destroy Allah, take them off the surface of this earth. Some of those videos took place right in here. This is the prayer hall of the Islamic Center of America. It's not what America was built on. It's not what America stands on.
So she snuck in, she grabbed a Quran, she's whispering, she's telling you, hey, you guys hear all this? They're not going to assimilate. This is the United States of America. There they are, Dearborn, Michigan. They've got their big mosques right there.
Only be sustained by the Christian faith. And that's not a message of hate. It's a message of love. It's not a message of fear. It's a message of truth. Our freedom comes from God, is protected by our government, and it's built on the Bible. Jesus is still king. Jesus is still king over America, and Jesus is still king over Dearborn, Michigan. But Christians, this is not the Middle East. This is happening in our country right now. What are we going to do about it?
Yep, I like that she's very soft voiced with this. She does an investigation. She gives a speech there at the end. No screaming, no yelling, no running up into people and screaming and hollering and having a big march of people screaming and yelling in their faces. It's training the American people for what they can do about it. Well, if the American people run to Google, they'll find this out. If you type in Google, I'm alone with a black person, it says you are just with another individual. I'm alone with a Muslim. If you're safe and calm, being alone with a Muslim person is no different than being alone with anyone else. I am alone with a white person. Type that into Google. If you feel unsafe or in immediate physical danger, please leave the area or call emergency services right away. If you type in, I am alone with a Christian, it says, if you're feeling lonely, remember that it is a common human emotion. Many people experience quiet sessions or quiet seasons, and many faithful believers look to quiet prayer or scripture to find comfort and peace when they are by themselves. If you're in danger or feeling safe right now, please call your local emergency number immediately. Tony X2 puts this out. Google's AI just exposed itself. Alone with black, Muslim, Asian, Jew, normal, treat them with respect. Alone with the white person or Christian, if you feel unsafe, call 911. They're not even pretending anymore. And then you've got the military. You got this Captain Bay in the U.S. Army. They're converting our troops and now allegedly our veterans' offices. It would be absolutely no surprise if Kandoyohi County Administrator Kelsey Baker is allegedly turning a veterans service office into a Muslim prayer room. Why? Because Islam has already embedded itself deep into the institutions that are supposed to protect this country, especially the U.S. military. Most Americans don't realize that imams are being invited into our bases to recruit, indoctrinate, and convert young American service members during basic training. That's right, basic training too. They're performing Shahada ceremonies, teaching Islamic doctrine, and bringing new brothers and sisters into the fold, all while wearing the uniform of the United States. Let me show you this.
Gather this way. Gather this way, please.
If you're listening and not watching, there's a captain in the Army, and he's got got this little Islam moon-looking thing on his cap.
Here at basic military training for how long now? A month, sir. He's been here for a month. All right, he's going into his 5th week of training. And he's been coming to the religious education classes where we teach about what is it that Muslims believe and practice. And he's informed me that he would like to become a Muslim. Now, traditionally, this is something that we do before the community. So that basically is a transition. It allows the community to embrace the new brother or the new sister. And in order to become a Muslim, it consists of 2 statements. The first statement being that I testify that there is none to be worshipped but God, and I testify that Muhammad is the messenger of God. By making those 2 statements, this enters you into the fold of Islam, in this fold of submitting unto God, right? And then the obligation is to follow the Quran and the prophetic example. Because when a person becomes a Muslim, that enters that individual into a state of duty and responsibilities. You have duties and responsibilities to Almighty God.
And so it looks like it's a boot camp, literal, where you send your kids off, they go there, they get their training to join part of the military. Before you know it, they come back and they say, guess what? I converted to Islam. How'd that happen? Well, they brought an imam in and he was teaching us, and I really liked what he had to say. Amy Mack, it's not a coincidence. We're watching the internal front of civilization jihad play out in real time. Special religious accommodations, prayer spaces, Sharia beard waivers. They get to have beards. They get to wear beards while they're in uniform. Halal mills, and now allegedly the conversion of veterans' office meant for those who fought against jihad into a space of Islamic prayer. The federal government has made $2.7 trillion in payments it should never have made. Not a typo, $1 trillion. The Government Accountability Office calls them improper payments, which are payments made in error in the wrong amount or with no documentation. In 2003, improper payments totaled $35 billion, then climbed to $236 billion a year in 2023. Fraud alone runs up to $521 billion a year, folks, which Treasury Secretary Bissent says is up 10% of the entire federal budget. Well, Brian Cates said, okay, they're starting to roll out the evidence to give you an idea of how much the shadow government was stealing and laundering under the guise of error and incompetence. The corrupt payment system that Elon Musk and Doge boys exposed early last year was working exactly as it was designed and intended to run. All of this and more we cover with money and precious metals. You guys know that Dr. Kirk Elliott has been on the money. In August, we are watching silver climb again. Every single day it seems to go up, and I'm just in awe of this. I hope you guys check out our last video. We're going to have another one out tomorrow, andweknow.com/gold in the description box below. Precious Metals continues its August climb, just as predicted. You might want to reach out to them, folks, and get on this as it continues to grow, especially if you want to get out of fiat and get that IRA over to Precious Metals. It will change your life.
Out of his motorcycle, he filled the water bottle with gasoline after he dumped the water. We know that when our victim and our killer eventually found themselves at the park, Difficult Run Trail Park, we know that our killer stabbed our victim repeatedly and eventually doused her in gasoline and tried to set her on fire.
So that was Fairfax. I told you about that earlier, but there were more details I didn't share as we get closer to the end of this video. Some more things that I'm going to show you in a moment if you don't want your kids to hear about it. It's very, very scary. Governor Sherrill just signed a law that could put you in prison for praying outside an abortion clinic. Yeah. Pretty sure that won't happen under Trump, but that which can try. Democrats really are some of the most disgusting, demonic people ever seen. There must be power in prayer if they're scared of it. Now, here's the part that's been very interesting. Benny Johnson showed this video clip going by all these ladies wearing pink shirts by the hundreds. And they're supporting a woman who killed her children. Need you to understand what these women are supporting. Lindsay Clancy, if you haven't heard about her, she baited her husband to leave the house and run errands, lured her children to the basement, took an exercise band and strangled her 5-year-old Cora, her 3-year-old Dawson, and her 8-month-old Callan. Cut her wrists and neck, jumped out the window, and paralyzed herself. The ladies have been showing up in droves, holding hands, crying, and cheering for her, like she's a feminist folk hero. They're all gathering together. In a sense, she is. Feminism has always been a death cult where the end goal is the power to murder your children out of convenience. She was sick, postpartum psychosis, they say. The system failed her, they say. These demons need Lindsay to get away with murder to accomplish the feminist quest to never hold a woman accountable for anything. Absolute moral collapse. The worst thing I've seen in America in my lifetime. Benny Johnson says this exactly right. Now, there are videos out there that are being put up by the hundreds, if not thousands, of women basically playing clips of showing their support for the trauma that this mom must have went through. And they're doing these video clips, a lot of them, with their children in the video clips. Large online female community launched a coordinated TikTok movement and supported Lindsay Clancy, the Massachusetts mother charged with strangling her 3 young children. Participants are declaring their allegiance from whatever state they're in, using labor, already an anthem in anti-patriarchy circles, as their soundtrack. Many portray Clancy not as a woman whose defense cites severe postpartum psychosis, but as an almost certain victim of her husband, whom they insist must be the real perpetrator. As a woman who lived through postpartum distress, this individual posted this, finds the response terrifying and disgusting. The willingness of so many, especially those identifying as medical professionals, to rush to exonerate or romanticize a mother accused of killing her own children reveals a chilling inversion of priorities. Here's interviews with some of those ladies at this event supporting her.
One of my sister-in-laws, it could be one of my best friends, and it could be me. So just here to support.
We are hearing her. We see that she tried everything, and I really do believe that she went into a state of psychosis.
We feel like the system failed her. She was begging for help, but no one was there. I don't know if us being here will make her feel any better, but I mean, she's living in hell right now.
Now I'm going to play a video clip from this young lady who spells out Lindsay's not the only one that does this. She's had enough.
If you would like to unfollow me because I think a child murderer deserves to go to prison because she murdered her children, go ahead, leave.
Oh, by the way, you guys remember Candace? I usually don't call people out, other podcasters per se, but Candace out there is supporting Lindsay, saying it was okay. She didn't really do anything wrong because Big Pharma did it.
Fundamentally, we are never going to get along if we can't even agree that killing a child is wrong. Apparently, we need a freaking reminder that women are perfectly capable of hurting and killing their own children. So why don't we go ahead and count them? Number 1, we have Melissa Campos Sanchez, Miami, August 2026. Police say that she poured hot candle wax onto her 3-year-old and 6-year-old daughters. She then lit clothes on fire in the kitchen and danced around until the 6-year-old had to try to put the fire out. Number 2, Kaylee Earhart, North Dakota, August 2026. 3 young children were stabbed. Her 3-year-old and 5-month-old died, and her 1-year-old survived. And she told their father that say goodbye to your kids before she did it. Number 3, Haley Dempsey, Florida, May 2026. She killed her own mother, then she killed her 4-year-old daughter and her 4-month-old daughter. She then allegedly tried to shoot her 2-year-old, missed, and then killed herself. Number 4, Marlene Vidal, Texas, May 2026. Her 5-year-old son and 6-year-old daughters were killed with sharp force injuries, and their bodies were found inside a burning car. Number 5, Sarah Myers and Amy Stedman, New York, June 2026. A mother and a grandmother are accused of murdering 4 children, 13, 11, and 10-year-old twins. Drugs were used and 1 child was stabbed, and investigators say that the planning appeared aimed at keeping those children away from their father. Number 6, Mackenzie Critton, Wisconsin, July 2026. Charged with smothering her 7-month-old baby to death. That is 6 cases in 2026. And it's only freaking August. And while all of that is happening, women are sitting on the internet holding their babies and crying into the camera saying, same, Lindsay. Oh my goodness, same. And that's where I snapped. And apparently saying that maybe we shouldn't be identifying with that while we're holding our own babies is controversial now. I have more numbers for you. Federal child maltreatment fatalities in 2024. Mothers acting alone, 31.8%. Fathers acting alone, 13.7%. Non-fatal abuse and neglect, mothers alone, 37%. Fathers, 25%. Newborns killed within the first day of life, almost always the mother. Or should we talk about the over 1 million abortions every single year? So spare me this little fairy tale that y'all have come up with in La La Land over here that somehow women are incapable of being danger to children. We are more of a danger to our children than their fathers are in most cases. But women will search the entire freaking zip code for somebody to blame other than say, yeah, she did it. And that is why this whole same Lindsay trend thing has me genuinely concerned. And if me saying all of this makes you uncomfortable, well, you can stay uncomfortable because I am done prioritizing grown women's feelings over dead and abused children. And I'm damn sure done pretending the person who killed the child is somehow the biggest victim in the room. The children are the victims, not their murderers. This was fun. You women are psychos. Have a day.
That is how you do it right there. Now, while they're out there supporting no prayer around the abortion clinics, the killing of their the children is fine. It's, you know, craziness, the sickness out there. We have the First Lady that goes out and supports our orphans.
The greatest achievement, investment America can make is not in technology, infrastructure, or capital markets. It's our children. We are at the beginning of an era defined by artificial intelligence, robotics, and industries that have yet to be imagined. But America's greatest competitive advantage remains in its own people. Tomorrow's leaders are sitting in classrooms today, including those growing up in foster care. Their capability is no less remarkable. Fostering the future elevates America's youth based on merit and talent, lifting them beyond economic circumstance and every other condition that may limit opportunity.
She's fostering the future. She's helping these children that are caught in foster care and has a mission to give every one of them in foster care a chance to earn a college education, launch a meaningful career, and achieve lasting financial independence. It's very interesting, though. She was wearing the red dress and the red shoes. And you guys know what the red shoes stand for. It's almost like she's letting them know, we're saving these children. Those guys that were wearing the red shoes, well, no longer. We will now represent them in a positive way. And you saw the red picture of President Trump. And we had basically reminder that we're going to see some folks in the fall. We'll see you at the White House this fall, Hunter, says Dan Scavino. And that's Hunter, the little boy he famously brought on stage during a rally in 2016. He's going to bring him to the White House. Dan Scavino says, we're going to bring you in the fall. Right? Well, fall, remember? Hunters. October, hunters become the hunted. The hunt is on. Oh, that's so good.
For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you again, just thankful for how you continue to guide and direct the leaders out there that are doing all they can to support this nation and others around this earth in systematically taking down the old guard. This old guard that worships Satan, that has used all his devices with his minions and more to try to destroy every single person on this earth. We thank you for the life that you've given us through your Son, Jesus Christ, and guiding us with the Holy Spirit. Without that, who knows where we'd be? But you have done that great work for us in offering up your Son. We're so thankful. We ask that you continue to protect our families, protect our voices, those that we run into or disagree with us, how we handle them, and more. We certainly couldn't do that without you, and that your will on earth will be done as it is in heaven. You're so good to us. We bring this before you in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen. Folks, I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we all continue to stay in prayer. And even if they say we can't stand outside of these clinics and pray in some places in the United States, we will continue to pray, knowing the power that it holds no matter where we're at. For now, this is LT Semper Fi with them we know. Signing out.